Let's talk about Attack on Titan for a second. Now, in comparison to Naruto, Dragon Ball, or even One Piece, it's a very young anime, and those other properties, they got some amazing games. So we can take our passion from the TV screen to the TV screen as well, because we play the video games on the TVs mostly nowadays, unless you're on PC. I digress. But it's aired in 2013, so it's about time that we start getting some really good games out of that property. Especially because I just think the anime itself lends itself so well to a video game theme. I mean, Spider-Man games have been doing it forever, and it's just traveling with the 3D gear throughout that city just seems like an amazing feeling. Some games have tried capturing that, and some may be worth of your attention. I think 3 games may be worthy of your attention, and not a lot else. At number 3, we've got Attack on Titan: Humanity in Chains. This came out for the 3DS, and I think this was a very ambitious game. You can tell the 3DS limitations taking a hit on the game, you know, frame rate wise, and just it wanted to do so much with the property. It was the first, you know, actual proper Attack on Titan game, fully official, fully licensed. It takes you through some of the story moments that you kind of want to play, you know, the fight against the colossal Titan, that's like the very first moment. It opens up really, really well, but it just doesn't play great. And I think, you know, partly because of the platform limitations that we talked about. It's a bit chunky, you don't always have the freedom that you want to have. And several review outlets have said that if you are an Attack on Titan fan, you'd be better off watching the anime again. That's a harsh critic. Ultimately, I think the game's downfall was just its ambition. Too ambitious for the platform it was in. But, in all fairness, I think it paved the way to the next game on our list, which was Wings of Freedom, released just last year, very, very recently, on the PlayStation 4 nonetheless. This one had the power. It was on PS4. It had the power it needed to be like this free roaming experience. You could, you know, zip with the 3D gear however you would like. And I think it did a great job on that, if only it wasn't an Omega Force game. Now, Omega Force are mainly known for their Dynasty Warrior series, and those games are heavily criticized for being too similar to each other. There's definitely a group of fans of that genre, and they love it, and they wouldn't trade it for the world. But lately, Omega Force feels like it's drawing from several properties, especially anime. They had that Berserk game recently. They also did the One Piece Pirate Warriors games. So hearing they would take Attack on Titan and sort of apply it to their formula, it didn't sound great to me. Fortunately, the end result was actually a lot better than I expected. Instead of defeating hordes of enemies, you defeat some enemies, you know, not a large number, because they're Titans and they're much harder to take down than the normal soldiers in Dynasty Warriors. But that game suffered from what I think most Omega Force games suffer from, which is it's very repetitive. After playing one level, you kind of get the gist of it. You're dropped into a map and you gotta protect several points of interest from the Titans who are attacking them. You have different characters that you can play as, but these characters have some stat differences that almost make them unfair, or rather, if you don't play as Levi, Mikasa, or Eren, you're it's just pointless, because the other characters are just worse. It's not like they have a stat that is better. It's not like they have advantages and disadvantages. No, they're just straight out worse than those 3. And Eren isn't, you know, that special in comparison to Mikasa and Levi, but he can transform into a Titan, which is another big plus in my book. I think it was great of them to include that gameplay aspect as well, because it does change the game radically. And in an Omega Force game like that, it does break away from the monotony of just slicing up Titans. Which sounds fun, but after you do it over and over, it does start to get a little bit repetitive. So all in all, Attack on Titan Wings of Freedom wasn't exactly the Attack on Titan game I was looking for, but I think it's enough to scratch that itch. I think Attack on Titan fans will probably appreciate some aspects of that game for sure. And the number 1 on our list is actually not exactly an official game, it's a fan-made game. It's Geddins or Guedins, I never know how to pronounce his name. I'm gonna go with Geddins. Geddins' Attack on Titan game. So this one doesn't have the polish of Wings of Freedom. You can tell it's a bit clunky in spots, but it's a fan favorite, and here's why. Geddin did such an amazing job at capturing like the physics of the 3D gear, being able to point the left hook and hook it into a building, or the right hook and hook it into another building, and having the ropes behave in a way that you expect them to behave. It's not as easy to navigate as Wings of Freedom, which assists you through a lot of that stuff. You don't have to think about it too much. After you get used to it, you just kind of do it. In here, it's a much more active sort of thing. Just the basic action of traversing the map is challenging, and you are actively thinking about it. Because you constantly got to think about where you're going to place your hook, you got to constantly think about the physics of how that's going to affect you, of how your momentum or how the rope is going to behave. And that might sound complicated, but it's extremely engaging. You're thinking about all that stuff, and when it works, you just feel amazing. Now, this is a game that is free. You can just download it and play, but it also doesn't feel finished. In fact, it's constantly being updated, so the feature list is never really complete. But I would recommend you guys download it and try it out, and if you do enjoy it, do leave a donation so the man himself can finish this game, because so far I really love that system. If you're a fan of Spider-Man games, this is like the Spider-Man 2 of Attack on Titan games. And those are the 3 Attack on Titan games that are worthy of your attention. There's a lot of garbage out there, obviously, because Attack on Titan is so big that everyone wants to jump in and do as little work as possible and get as much money as possible. Open your phone on the iStore or Google Play and just type Attack on Titan and see how many unlicensed garbage comes up. So it's about time Attack on Titan got some good games. Please, I'm desperate for some good Attack on Titan juice. Looking at games in development, I don't see anything promising yet, and it's kind of a bummer. Anyway, what's your experience with Attack on Titan? Have you tried out any of the games yet? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you're a fan of Attack on Titan, don't forget to check out our video on the 10 anime voices you'll recognize anywhere. There's some Attack on Titan in there. Or if you're a Naruto fan, maybe you should be watching Boruto right now. There's some surprisingly good stuff in there. Click this video to watch it. Thanks for watching, folks.